Welcome to Success on Your Terms, the podcast where we challenge the conventional, break free from the noise, and redefine what success really means for you. I'm your host, Natalie Potts, and in each episode, we're diving into unfiltered perspectives on business and life because success isn't one size fits all. We'll explore how entrepreneurs are thinking differently, taking bold actions, and creating their own rules. Get ready to rethink how you approach growth, strategy, and the true meaning of success. It's time to stop following the crowd and start building your business your way. Cal, welcome to Success on Your Terms. Delighted to have you on here all the way over. They kind of say the other side of the pond sometimes, don't they? But I'm going to introduce yourself, what you do.
Sure,
And I always put people on the spot deliberately, like something a bit random.
sure. Well, my name is Cal Misner. I live on Vancouver Island in beautiful British Columbia, Canada. What do I do? That's kind of a loaded question, but I
Yeah.
guess the best way to describe would be business coach. I'm told I have a beautiful blend of soul plus strategy. So, I've got 25 years of business experience, so lots of business experience, but also, really soulful and really, I like to help people create a life they're madly in love with is how I describe it. So.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah, and something random. Most people don't know this, but like I said, I wear many hats, do many things. I'm a certified Pacific Northwest barbecue judge. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah. So, I would suggest probably the best job in the world. I get to taste barbecue and critique it. So,
I love that. I love that. It's the part around asking that question as such is to just find out something a bit random that
yeah.
often leads us, like I call like the part of the messaging that's about us and the values or something that actually connects people and people buy from people. So it's always good to see things we're interested in and do. So how did that come about?
Well, I am a man of many passions, and back to creating a life that I'm madly in love with, which I'm fortunate to be living at the moment, and helping others do so. To me, one of the it sounds so simple, but often we just don't do it, is connecting to your passions. Like, what are the things that you're passionate about or want to try or are curious about? And so I've always been passionate about cooking and food and through travels in the southern US in particular, got to sample this real traditional southern barbecue, right? Where they low and slow
Love
cook
it.
meat, wood smoke, and this beautiful incredible blend of sweet and spice and savory and smoke. And I'm just like, that is fascinating, man. I got to learn how to do that. And so I actually, in Whistler, British Columbia, we have the Canadian National Barbecue Championship. And so for a few years, I cooked in that competition, which was amazing. And it's so fun because I wanted to see how they created this. I wanted to do it for myself. And so I learned how to cook. I took a course actually, and there's a gentleman in North Vancouver who wrote a quite a popular barbecue cookbook. So I learned how to cook, and it was super cool. But as a cook in these competitions, you have to cook for 48 hours straight. You stay up. You have to watch your smoker. You have to, sometimes they'll cook a brisket for 16 hours straight, and so while that was really cool, it was exhausting. And then at the end of the 16 hours, when it's time to turn in your product, you take it in and you hand it to a group of judges, and they sit and they're sampling the barbecue. And I thought, I think I like that job better than the cooking job. And so I took another course on how to properly judge because in these competitions, especially again in the US, it's a big deal, right? They're serious about it. And so learned how to judge and to follow a set criteria for tasting the meat and judging these competitions. And so, yeah, it was just again, it's about following your passions and doing things that are, for me, that was just for me. That was not something that someone else told me to do or someone else wanted me to do. It was just, I really just want to try this and yeah, so that's how I got into it.
It's interesting you've said about that part about like taking things seriously. And I know so our connection is through Giovanni Masico,
Yes. Yep.
who has well, it's now going to be Destiny Fest, right?
Yes. Yep. Yes.
It was Archangel, summit, and then we were in Archangel Symmetry. But it was my mentor really she was linked with Giovanni. Giovanni came to the UK, spoke at her event, and did this incredible
Yes.
presentation with the real point around. And I will share this is a great story because I use it in my presentations now to kind of do the ripple effect.
Okay,
Um,
yes.
but there was probably about 100 people in the room, and he gifted us all a ticket to go to Canada. But
Yes.
I'm jumping ahead. This was at the end of his presentation where he was sharing around his journey for years and years, and not having the money he wanted or the fulfillment in what he does for his like more than a
Yes.
job, but he's what he does, and um like just going again to kind of like an event and seeing this opportunity to get involved with something. He was like, it was 10 grand, how am I going to do that? And then just seeing like it's if what would my kind of alter ego or person do, someone different, like what
Yes.
can you tell me? And he was like, he called this person what's it, Johnny Angel, isn't it, something like that?
My person of possibility is Johnny Possibility.
Yeah, but it was he said, what would they do? And then I was
That's
sitting there and I was like, he's very good at sales. Let's take that out. Let's just take that out for sure. But he's also so
yeah.
compelling in how he tells a story, he shares it. And there's just something about him that I was like, right, I need to be in his world and I want to be. And
Yes.
he was really quiet at the back when I went and introduced myself. And I was really bold like I can be. And I was like, I'm going to be at that event at some point.
Yes.
Anyway, then I went home and then it just continued to play on my mind. And I remember seeing this one slide of just a plane going like Canada plane and like you've got to be on that flight, and I was like, oh my goodness. And then like I said to him, I voice noted him and just said like, can you share me details when you had the details for the event and I'll have a look. And then it was just a no-brainer, and I just knew like what would this is the funny part because I've since had a VIP day with him, which I know you've had more
Yes.
to.
Yep. Yes. Yep.
He asked what was the name of the person you created, and I was like, Giovanna.
Oh, there you go. Okay, perfect.
Original, really
Yep.
original. So it's quite funny. But I'm always like, what would Giovanna do? And I just knew I was like, they would be on that plane, they would go to Canada. And that's what got me to Canada last September.
Yes.
Really didn't know anybody apart from Giovanni, because my mentor couldn't make it at the time. And
Right.
then yeah, it was just the most incredible 2 days. I went for the whole VIP experience, met yourselves literally, and
Yes.
Veronica
Yeah.
that first morning. Really nervous, but like you've got to put yourself out there. And genuinely, in
Yes.
spaces like that, people are all there for the same thing. They're very kind, they're very open. You can just share stories and everything.
Yes.
And I was just blown away by the first day, loved it. Loved the connections I made. And then the second day, I mean, I did know a few people because we have our weekly meeting online, but it's not the same as meeting people in person. And the second day was just phenomenal, which was the main event. Uh,
Yes.
and so I'm back, come back this year. So
Awesome.
really, it's us just building connections and conversations that leads us to be sitting on a podcast.
Yes. Awesome. Well, I look
So
forward to seeing you there again.
yeah, it will be amazing. I guess with that is it'd be interesting to know how you were connected with Giovanni as well, and we can build off of
Sure.
there and the power of connections because that is definitely going to be the key part
Yes.
about
Yep.
the real thing for me about being in that space is it's not like having an audience in the UK. Like we can very much
Mhm.
get bubbled and that's I'm always aware of that in business. I've been into masterminds, but I then leave after a certain period. And it's not about I take the thing and I just go. There's an element of that because we have to learn and move to the next
Yep.
thing. But
Yes.
the
Yep.
real thing is probably very similar. We've got similar backgrounds in corporate. I stayed with one company for 19 years, which is like not the done thing to say at 37 because people don't see business or
Yeah.
careers in that way anymore.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
did very well at it. I loved it. But I was very much at some points near the end, it didn't do me any favors to have been with that one company because the challenge was you don't like change, you're setting a culture, and some
Yes.
things right on with that.
Yep.
Um, but also just I enjoyed the business and did well at it, so I stayed. But I'm very aware now that I have to get out and be in different circles and conversations
Yep.
and groups
Yes.
and networking to challenge myself to see the world differently. Because otherwise,
Mm.
again, you can get quite bubbled in thinking this is it. And there's so
Yeah.
many
Yes.
opportunities out there. And
Yep.
going to Canada, there is a complete different mindset to what I see in the UK. And I always felt
Yep.
like an outlier over here versus like we can go on those calls and you can instantly get great conversations and connections with people
Yes.
because you care about the same things, you value the same things in
Yes.
life, and you want similar things and you want to help other people, and that
Yes.
bringing people that deeper level of connection
Hmm.
is often what people say they want and stuff in business but don't give the time to.
Hmm. I totally agree. So back to your, that felt like a five-part question, but I'll do my best to
I
hit all
know.
five.
I'm fully loaded with them.
That's okay. So you were talking about the power of connection was part of it, and to me, it's so critical. And I think about that community in particular. And the other question you asked is how I met Giovanni. So
Yeah,
Giovanni and I, we also share a mentor and a fellow named Philip McKernan. And Philip actually spoke at that event. And
Alan.
so, yeah. And so part of, I'll just tell you a little bit about my story because I think it's very relevant to this is I too was in the corporate world and, worked hard for years and I followed the formula, right? So I went to school, got good grades, worked hard, climbed the ladder, got all the things, had the ocean view house and the boat and yet inside I just felt miserable, right? From the outside in, I think people said, "Wow, you've made it. You've got it all going on." And I'm like, "Yeah,
Yeah,
why do I just feel so hollow?" And what I
yeah,
realize now, you talk about connection, and I'll come back to this in a minute, connection with community, but for me, what I really needed was connection to myself, right? I followed the formula, but when I arrived, I realized it wasn't my formula, right? And I'm like,
yeah.
I've done all these things, but this isn't actually really what I wanted. And I thought it would feel differently. And so what I realize now, and this involves a little bit of deeper work, but I was really disconnected from my heart, right? Due to some childhood trauma and for that reason, it was almost impossible to choose work that I was really passionate about, to feel the fulfillment, to be in a relationship that was meaningful to
Mm,
because I was disconnected, right? And so now, fast forward when I talk about creating a life you're madly in love with, and for some people, myself included, this takes a lot longer maybe than others, but it was really going inwards and connecting with myself and saying, what do I really want?
mm,
Another one of my mentors last week asked that question on a video call. And it on the surface, it's a really simple question, right? But if you stop and ask yourself, what do you really want?
yeah,
A lot of people can't answer that.
I know.
And so back to connection, I think it's connection to self, connection to your heart. Like, what do I really want? Not what my spouse thinks I should have or my parents or society, but truly, what do I want? And so starting with that connection with self and then connection with community or like-minded people or to your, I'm very discerning these days about who I spend my time with.
Yeah,
And being in the coaching, personal development space, literally daily I have people say, "Oh, you should come to this event, you should watch this video, you should read this book," and all meaning very well.
yeah,
And I just now have this simple process where I just bring it through my own filter of my intuition and my heart and say, "Yeah, no, I'm not feeling that one. I'm not feeling that one." And but Giovanni's community, that community, it for me, it's always a yes because to your point, they're people almost without exception. The people I've met, yourself included, are passionate about business, but passionate about making a difference, passionate about making a life that they're crazy about, passionate about their health.
yeah.
And so, and to me, the most critical part of that community is surrounding yourself with people that don't think you're crazy for dreaming the big dreams.
Yeah,
And a lot of people, and I'm sure you can relate, and probably others can relate, is even friends and family who say, "Hey, I want to travel around the world and be a speaker." And some people are just think you're nuts, like right off the bat, or you might get this more subtle, insidious response, like, "Oh, well, good luck with that," right? And what they're really saying is, no, that's not even a real thing. Like, how can you possibly do that? But in a community such as that one, people say, "Oh, that sounds amazing. How can I help you?"
yeah,
Right. And
100%.
so preserving your energy to me, like I want to be in a community that's going to support me and lift me up and that I can support and lift up, not the other way around, right? Not suck the life out of me, not suck the energy out of me. So,
Yeah.
so
It's
yeah.
Yeah, it's fascinating that it's a bit like I just said as well, leading into that the outlier piece, isn't it? And
Yep.
going into, and I said that I remember one of my first courses, I just it'd be nice to be part of a space where people want you to do really well. And like you say like how can I help you? Or I know someone who knows this, or how can I help with this?
Yep.
Um and I think listens, there's a couple of times you said it today, there is people just want to feel good.
Yes. Yes.
Keep saying this a lot recently in that like we're hit with so many things, marketing all the time and doing all the things like you say, like I was very much like that I had a job where it was like, oh, you've done really well, you look super successful, have the nice car, the nice bag, all that rubbish and all the super, it's not about it's the superficial stuff.
Right.
And I would just realize, especially coming out of COVID, I got myself into a cycle of gym, home, work, repeat.
Right. Right.
And
Right.
again, like I haven't got time for anything else, and I'm the career girl and all of that. But there's a
Hmm.
massive disconnect the older you get as well, where you start to realize, like you said, like what is the meaning and purpose of real like life for me, and working all the hours and sitting in an office, um, four walls and just like thinking, is this it for the next 30 years? It's like, this isn't a life I want for myself. This isn't going to be me getting to the end of my life and on my own and thinking this is success because it's not. And this is why I call
Yes.
the podcast Success on Your Terms. Like it's about redefining that,
Yes.
bringing some almost some without being too strategic on it, but it's got to have some measurement to it. Lots of people say success is happiness, and then it's unpacking that. And
Hmm.
essentially, it's different to every single person. Some people
Hmm.
like freedom, or like they want to do what they want and flexibility, and
Yes.
yeah, so it's very different. And I think it's like you said, it's about the question like, what do you really want? People don't think around what makes you happy, what
Yes. Right.
like what is success to you? And they don't ask those questions.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
actually, probably many of us would be living more meaningful lives and making a better impact in the world if we did explore some of these questions.
Yes. Agreed. It, an example that I think of in the entrepreneurial world, for example, the buzzword is scale, right? And so like everybody thinks they have to scale.
Yeah.
And I see so many people running around trying to scale, scale, scale. In fact, I met with a potential coaching client last week, and she's got a really great idea for this business that I think is going to make a big impact in the world. But
Mm.
it's just an idea. She's just started it. And she's already, I don't know how to scale this. And I said, well, you have nothing to scale. Like you're not there yet, right? Why are you even worrying about that when maybe scale isn't even the thing? Like for myself, I want this lovely little boutique business that, right? I'm not trying to scale it to something that becomes stressful and unmanageable. I just want so, but that's just me. And I'm not saying scaling is bad. I'm saying, what is it that you want? And
Yeah. But
yeah,
even that, I've noticed that getting into entrepreneurship in this way and having my own business, that
yep,
there is still going to be a pressure that we can put on ourselves to show up in a certain way, keep up the
right,
Joneses type of thing.
yep,
And that we
mhm,
we create a success bubble in what that should look like in, oh, I should have a team, or I should be earning 100K, or I should be earning a million, all of these things.
yes,
And
yes,
fundamentally, like people ask you want a team, I'm like, no. And I
no,
think sometimes I don't know. That's the honest answer. Like, and I'm happy
yep,
with that more so when
yep,
people are, oh,
yeah,
because right now, like you said, I meet myself where I'm at. Like, and there is a people hate the point
yes,
around you're not there yet, but like you're not. I haven't earned that part of doing the work to know what that looks like yet. I've done certain parts in corporate of I led teams, huge teams, like my team would be say 35 and then the teams off of those would be 500, 800 people. I'm
yes,
used to that culture, but I knew that when I left that world that starting a business isn't the same as doing your KPIs at corporate.
right,
And
yeah,
therefore having a team I'm going to know some things, but I know it's going to expose me to many more challenges and problems, which is
mhm,
business. But do I want that?
right, yeah, that's right,
And again, back to that point of what's the life you want. And
yeah,
like, I think people again grow or build, grow, and scale at such like they're just desperate for that chase again of stuff, which is
right,
great.
right,
I'm not
yeah,
demeaning it in any way if it works for you, but you've got to be really careful of the can you take the consequences then if something goes really big and you just become again the top of the game and you've then got a team that do all the stuff that you absolutely loved, which is why you started your business.
Right
Because
on.
as a CEO, it's a very different ball game.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
then I think you actually then resent your business and hate it. And then you're
Yes.
that person like the stories we hear of, oh well it was, like I set out for this and it's not that now. And I think that's again back to just slow it down quite a bit and think
Yeah.
around, what does
Yeah.
that life look like? What kind of business do you want? What do you want to be known for? Who do you
Yes.
want to work with? A mindset? What lights you up and gets you out of bed every day compared to
Yes.
people who are
That's right.
overwhelmed, burned out, and just like
Mm.
not liking their business? And it doesn't have to be that way.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's interesting, maybe I'm going to sound like I contradict myself now, but excuse me, in my book, The Freedom Framework, is really because you talked about what people value. And for me, freedom is that's my number one core value. Like
Yeah,
it's all about freedom in a number of ways. And back to that mentor last week that said, "What do you really want?" I sat with that question for a couple of days, like, what do I really want? What do I really want? And I think that here's the thing, these answers evolve and change, right? So
sure,
we get caught up on like, what is the thing that I want? Well, I don't know. Like, what do you want today? Or what are you feeling? What's coming up? And so after sitting with that for a couple of days, what came up for me was I want the freedom to be myself.
sure,
And I want to, it's essential for me. It's not essential for everybody, but to focus, especially from a work perspective, on focusing on the things that bring me energy and light me up and help make a difference in other people's lives and getting help with the things that I don't love quite as much.
mm,
And I'm sure you can relate to this as an entrepreneur. When you start a business, you wear all the hats,
yeah,
right? You're the salesperson, the marketing person, the operations person, you're all of it. And so one way, and again, this is not prescriptive in any way, but one way that I have found to be able to focus on the things that I love and get help with the things I don't love quite as much is through building a team.
yeah,
Now, that can be a small team. That can be a team of one or two and say, okay, out of the 10 things that we're responsible for as a company or an organization, here's the three I want to do, and I need help with those three, and you do those three. But right there, again, hence the name of the book, the Freedom Framework is like, freedom again to do what I love to do, or maybe to not have the burden of the stuff that I don't like quite as much.
yeah,
So a lot of people, when they look at building a team, they're like, oh, especially if you've never led a team, it's like, I don't want the burden of a team and I don't want to have to babysit. How many times have I heard leaders say that? Or if I have to show a team member how to do all that stuff, then I might as well just do it myself. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I get all those sentiments. And it's the team that allows you, I think, one day to wake up and say, this is really cool. I get to do the things that I love. But
yeah.
Giovanni, right? He gets to do what he's brilliant at, and he gets help with some of the other stuff.
Yeah. And that's the important part. And that's the figuring out. So at the moment where I'm at, so I'm not sure yet. If you're enjoying this episode and want to simplify your business while making it work for you on your terms, my mastermind could be exactly what you need. It's designed to help you refine your messaging, streamline your strategy, and accelerate growth, all while aligning with your vision. If you're ready to stop overcomplicating things and build a business that truly works for you, DM the word podcast across social platforms to learn more. Now, let's jump back into today's episode. I also find the more conversations, great relationships I build, I start seeing the skill sets of people. I see the behaviors that I like as well of how people
Right.
like
Yes.
conduct themselves in business and that's aligned. And that all takes time to build those
Yes.
relationships, to build the
Yes.
trust, which is
Yep.
important.
Yes.
So yeah, there's never a right and wrong. And I've really struggled with the word freedom
Right.
about
Right.
a year into the business because I remember speaking around I was talking about freedom.
Yep.
And
Yep.
the reality was that I'd done a bit of my mindset coach around like what is freedom, what is financial freedom, and all these
Right.
different things, time
Right.
freedom, different stuff. And again, like I think what I was really trying to grasp was what does it mean to me,
Mm.
and
Yes.
and then to share it with people to get them to think differently on it as well. Because I think again, we just ban these words around without much meaning behind them, and people say, "I just
Agreed.
want freedom," and it's like, but freedom, like of what, for what? What does it mean to you? Because when I was thinking around it, as when she challenged rightly so, it was like, do you have the freedom to go to the gym right now? And I was like, yeah. She was like, could you go and pick up your niece right now? And I was like, well, yeah, I can move a few things around, but yeah, I had that flex more than I had in
Nice.
corporate.
Yes.
And she goes,
Yes.
so it feels sometimes like you on a like the destination of freedom or when
Yeah.
I get there, but you have it right now. And I think
Hmm.
again, just reframing that for me,
Yep.
powerful coaching technique. But again, all of that, which is always the essence, and I've come from a very strong coaching background too, that it's that higher level of awareness on everything
Yep.
and again challenging yourself. And you can know that we can change and evolve on things, but I
Yep.
think that really helped me just to again the slowing down on you're not chasing things. You have so much here right now and being grateful for those.
Yes.
And then what's the further and beyond of that in
Yep.
time?
Yeah, I totally agree. And I love your point about, because you're right, freedom, that is one of those words, it's pretty nebulous, right? It's pretty broad.
Yeah.
But what does it mean to you? And it's back to asking ourselves the deeper questions. And for me, here's a simple example is when it comes to my business, I want the freedom to work from anywhere in the world,
Yeah.
right? And that's just for whatever reason. If like, hey, there's an event I'd like to go to. I'd like to go see the Formula One race in Barcelona. Okay, well, I can work while I'm there. That's cool. We were in Italy last year. That was on our list of things we really wanted to do. We were able to conduct our business while away. Like, so to me, it's a really tangible form of freedom.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not just throwing out that word. It's like I want to be able to work from anywhere. So I think that's a key point. And I think the other point that you made that is really key is I know for myself what I was passionate about 2 years ago is very different from what I'm passionate about today. And I
Wow.
expect a year from now it's going to be different yet again.
Yeah.
And that some could say, well, that's a little neurotic. Say, no, that's evolution, man.
Right.
That's how as you grow and learn and experience things, you say, ah, that was cool, but now I go think I'm going this direction or and so it can be a really fluid thing, right? So
Mm,
but it comes back to again, I believe asking ourselves those deeper questions.
mm,
I think the other thing that's huge, because a lot of people say, okay, I get that, I get that. I should ask myself, what do I really want? But I'm busy, right? I got to work and I've got kids and I got and and that is, I think it's true, right? It's a fact of a lot of people's lives is do you actually take the time and the space to ask those questions and reflect upon them?
yeah.
And especially in the corporate world, I have found as a leader, I would say to people like, what lights you up? What do you want to do more of, and how can I help you get there? And often the answer was, well, I don't know. And it wasn't, I didn't feel it was from a place of apathy. It was like, I genuinely don't know. And I've never asked myself that question, and I've never actually taken any time to reflect upon it, so I just actually can't answer you.
Mm,
Right. And so I would encourage everyone to, and whatever that looks like for you, like for me, it's even on a daily basis, it's a hike.
mm,
Right.
yeah.
This morning I got up at 6 a.m. and went for an hour-long hike down by the ocean and it's just time to like reflect, time to think, okay, what do I want to do today? How do I want to feel? Who should I contact? What, right? Like really checking in. Where some people roll out of bed, the alarm goes off and they're rushing and rush out the door and rush to work and never take the time to contemplate. So,
Yeah, it's that rat race, isn't it?
and how do you create a life you're madly in love with if you don't actually take the time to figure out what you want?
Mm.
Well, I had another mentor say to me, he said, Cal, if you're not clear on what you want, I can almost guarantee I cannot help you get it. However, if you're clear on what you want, I can guarantee you I can help get it. And I was like, wow, well, that's pretty profound.
It's pretty interesting. I always say it to people like looking at the type of mindset of person I want to work with, where they're at, is I find it impossible to work with somebody who doesn't know what they want. And I don't want to. Like that's a grounding that I have is that when you have that, because that I just from experience with it, that work is so independent on
Yes.
them to
Yep.
explore. And maybe
Yes.
they're not ready yet or in that place too. And I can maybe help them on a few things there. But also I want to give my time to work with people and we have to make a choice as well who are
Yes.
ready and
Yep.
going for that. And
Yep.
that's where also I'm at my best to serve those people.
Right.
So it's
Yeah.
yeah, I absolutely align with that. You talk a lot about mentors. How important has that been and is it to you as an entrepreneur?
It's absolutely essential.
Mm,
I have I have coaches and mentors for everything.
mm,
Like literally, I have a fitness coach. Another one of my passions is music, so I do a lot of singing and playing in a band. I've been singing forever. I literally just engaged a vocal coach. I thought, you know what? I've been singing a long time, but maybe having someone teach me to do it properly. And I think we've had 3 lessons together so far, and it's crazy, man. Like the stuff that she has taught me is mind blowing. She's expanded my range to beyond 2 octaves, and like it's nuts. And I've been tr here's the point, I think, is I've been singing for 25 years, right? On my own, without help. And not bad. I'm pretty good, I think. And with some help, in 3 weeks, I'm like way better than I was, right? And so I just think, why did I not do this sooner? But it equates to everything for me, like business, life coach, whatever you call it, like every area. I think if you can get help and fast track some of these processes for growth, why
Yeah.
would you not do so, right? You can, sure,
Yeah.
we can battle it out ourselves and try and figure it out, but why would you do that?
And
So,
that's why I'm really big on talk, like walking my talk a bit, because like, and you might have seen with the fitness stuff and things like that, like that when people ask stuff like, no one really, they might think it, but I'm not the person they come to and say, well, it's easy for you, because I've often demonstrated and talked about I've
right.
done X to get Y. And exactly that example that like I've not always wanted the PT or the fitness plan or the nutrition plan and not a lot of food.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
like you trust the process the same. And that's why I've always, this is what my mentor sort of me of messaging. She goes, you've always weaved that in really well when you see things differently on that side of things
yes,
and get
yeah,
the core message across to people and then live and breathe it. But at the moment, um, with fitness and what I want to achieve this year, I was like, oh, I feel a bit of a hypocrite because I haven't got a coach at the minute with that. And I've always had people, like you say,
yeah,
like the
yes, yeah,
last 10 years of stuff, I've been really into fitness. And I thought, well, where is that? Why is that? And what am I proving to myself? Part of it is it's a challenge in that I am proving the point as well of
yes,
8 solid years of having PTs has
yeah,
given me so much experience and knowledge to understand myself really well, to know what I need to do in terms of the goals I'm achieving this year. And they're not as profound as years before because I'm in a
yeah,
different point in my life. And I don't want those things the same way. But now it's given me so much more confidence,
yeah,
knowledge,
yes,
awareness. I know what I need to do to get the result. I just need to do it.
mm,
And if
yes,
anything, therefore, then I know the gap's slightly different. I just need we all need a level of accountability. I'm very disciplined, which helps,
yeah,
but
yes,
I still need a bit of that nudge or that being around people who eat
yeah,
well, being around, like Tom and I, my fiance, like we have very strong values on health, the same. And that is massive to me when I
yeah,
was, like when we were, getting to know each other, is that we care about the same things because we support one
yeah,
another in it.
yes, yep,
And
yep,
and therefore, again, I think people really underrate the importance of, like you said, how much quicker the process can be and to get as close to what we want. It's like again, like you often what you want is gonna be a better place to be. So why wouldn't you like
do
make
that,
that a quicker
yeah,
thing to have?
yeah,
And doing it with someone, I hate the phrase self-made.
yeah,
Um,
yes,
because
yeah,
no one is, when we break again that down, like self-made, like you're not, like you're
no,
around constant teachers. You'll always be the student. You're always learning. And if it's a money one when you're starting out, then it becomes a time currency. And I've really learned that being in this space with Giovanni and meeting people like Jake
mhm,
as well, who talks about the giver
yes,
method
yep, yep,
um, in like time, energy, and money currency. And it's really challenged me to hold myself accountable again to
yes,
like what's draining my time, what is, like where's the money currency, where's the time currency. And sometimes things
mhm,
are about more time at the minute. But it's understanding that and having some peace with that and knowing it's seasonal and things like that. And that's part of the journey. You can't have everything you want straight away if you're working
true,
towards something.
true. Well, and I think another key reason for me to have a mentor or coach and is because often people that have experienced a certain level of success or a certain they've done some things similar to what you want to do. They
Yeah,
can see possibilities for you that you can't even see for yourself.
100%.
Right. And so you're like, well, I think I want to do this. And they're like, yeah, but why wouldn't you do this? And again, talking to a mentor last week, who told me starting out his coaching journey, I think the first year he made 60 grand. Next year made 640 grand. Okay, so for most people, that realm of possibility is so out of touch that
Yeah.
you can't even fathom that. But when you work with someone who's done it
Mm.
and can see the possibility for you and connect those dots for you and say, "Oh yeah, I can see that for you."
Yeah.
I was speaking to one of my coaching clients a couple of weeks ago, and when I first met her, we've been working together for a year and a half now. She she put it this way. I said immediately, I said, "I see you speaking on big stages." And she's like, "No, no, 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 I don't. That ain't happening." And now she's literally hosting events with 800 people and just rocking it, right? And that and I just saw it like instant I met her. I'm like, "Oh yeah, this
Yeah.
is I can see this," but she could not see that for herself. And so that's why, I love what you said about you got to meet yourself where you're at.
Yeah.
But I also think one thing a coach and mentor can do sometimes, anyways, is hold you until you get to a certain point where you can now hold yourself,
Yeah.
right? Because again, she just couldn't see that possibility first. Now she's like, "Oh, I think I could speak like to 8,000 people. Forget about 800." Like so now she's holding herself, and now she can see a bigger vision for herself. But initially she couldn't do that. So
And that's so fascinating. But that's down to again, like we all have, and again, something Jake's helped me on with the given method is looking at your superpowers. And one of mine is now, I always just think it's a bit of brag, like I'm very confident. I just naturally
yes,
am. And
yes, yep.
it led me for years in drama as a kid and things like that. And um like we just have good skills and it's about embracing more of those. And you'll know this, the
Mm.
coaching side of leaning into what you're great at more than, like you're working on stuff you're not, but really leaning into your strengths. And like you said with a team, I don't need a team full of
Yeah,
Natalie's. I need a team full of the opposites to go and challenge
yeah,
me and do the
totally.
opposites or do the things I don't like to do. And that
Mm.
makes the team is when you bring all of those people together and
Agreed.
collaborate and everything. And and again, the mentors, it's having those ones I think, and it's a bit like the same with the question of what do you want of people don't explore enough, like trust yourself. That's
Yes,
so important. And I
yes,
think maybe it's wrapped up in confirmation, or we want certainty, or we don't want judgment, or we don't rejection and things, or essentially it's fear.
yep,
But they, like when like you're saying, like I said earlier, my mentor was just like, messaging's your thing. And
yeah,
sometimes you just got no idea. You just there's a part of you that just trust
yeah.
yourself and trust those people around you who have been
True,
there, done it, and seen it. And they want and knowing they want the best for you, those types of people.
true,
Um,
true.
and I always kind of break down confidence because it's so, so again, it's like wishy-washy, like break it, what does it mean to you? And the courage is the part that people need. Then the
Yes,
confidence is the end result. It's the knowledge that you have, it's your experience. And sometimes I was saying this on another podcast actually, like I follow people like Kobe Bryant's journey when he was in, fitness, incredible inspiration at the time. Michael Jordan, I love people in fitness in that way, their
yep,
mindset.
yes, yep,
And I remember seeing one of Kobe's, I think it was his quotes once, like, you can't have other people believe in you, just believe in yourself. And I was like, cool. But I do think there is something in just being around people, like you just said there, that just have seen it and see it in you and
yes,
just letting everything go sometimes and just going like, I believe in you. We've got this. Let's go for it.
yep.
And all of those components are then bring the confidence to take that, with the courage, do that thing, feel the fear
Mhm.
and do it anyway. But you have to trust people to do that and get the right, again, it's the importance of one of the top three keys, if not any, it has to be the number one key to success is the people around you.
Yeah, agreed.
The ability to drain your time and energy or not, and those types of things can
Yep,
completely change the course of your journey.
agreed. And I feel like this is another contradictory statement, perhaps, because I was talking about the value of coaches and mentors, which I hugely believe in.
Mm,
I also think many people, and I know I have fallen into this category, is we sometimes relinquish our own power, right? We're like, I got to take another course, I got to read another book, I got to get another coach. Sometimes it's like back to that, like, stop and be quiet and listen to your inner wisdom
yeah,
because we all are way more wise than we think we are,
sure.
right? And so, like, a lot of the answers, this is what I've been doing, is like trying to go inwards and say, okay, do I have the answer to that? And often I do. And so that's cool. And
Mm,
there's times when I don't say, okay, well, but that's good. Now I know that I could use some help in this area, but I don't need help in every area,
mm,
right? And so again, that may sound a little contradictory, but I think it's so important to trust in yourself, like you said, and go inside and say, you know what, I think I do have the answer to this. And listen to those little quiet whispers of your heart, right? Like things come up and you're like, and they're accurate, but often we distrust them. No, I don't know. I don't know if that I keep hearing this little voice saying I should do more speaking, but I don't know if that's right. Like, maybe not, maybe not. Well, no, it's usually pretty accurate. So,
yeah, and I mean, look, logically, like you say, it sounds contradictory, but it's the same as I just said with fitness, isn't it? I absolutely believe and fully support the investments in mentors. I've spent over £100,000 in people that
yes,
and everything
yeah,
the last few years because
yeah,
it's meant a lot to me, and I do the work and take action and implement on it, which is important.
yeah,
But then, like
yes,
I said, the stage of my life right now, it's like there's a different goal around fitness with other things, and I'm just trusting myself on what I know and have learned from those amazing people, and I hear them in my head still. Like you got that more in the tank, keep going, or get that extra.
yeah,
And I'm enjoying that experience as well of just seeing, well, what like how self-disciplined am I? Where's
yeah,
like how much can I challenge myself on things without needing somebody to go and say, do this, do that. And I know that some weeks are harder than others, and some weeks you feel like, oh, I wish I did have that person to go, like, come on, let's do the check-in. But fundamentally, again, it's just trying something new and something different. So that I think people always search for a logical on lots of things or this and a that. And I keep saying this phrase a lot recently of just navigating the grey a bit more in
ah,
life.
love that. Yeah, yeah. I was smiling when you were talking about hearing the voices of your fitness coaches, and I
It's
had a I had a trainer many years ago, and I told you I also really like food and wine. In particular, I like big, bold Italian red wines, and so she said to me years ago, she said, drinking that wine is pretty much pure sugar. And so every now and then I find myself going to enjoy a sip of this beautiful wine and I hear that voice and I'm like, gee, annoying.
I am exactly the same. There's this little bit I'm trying to get into running this year, like I did last year. I did really well on it last year, and I was that person at the beginning of the year, and that was again a goal. I was like, I hate running, and I was like, I'm going to change this mindset because I don't. It's just hard, and that's the point. So really got into running last year, loved it. I'm embracing it a bit this year. It's freezing in the UK at the minute, so I know I'm not great when it's in the cold. Um, but there's a certain like the last trek of the 5K I do, I sprint it and I go all
Oh
in.
yeah,
And
nice.
then I get to about, it must be about 90 seconds. It's not long, but I
Yep,
get to the end of it and I know, and I have to dig deep and I'm like thinking just, keep going, keep going. And I hear them in my head and I'm like,
nice.
keep going out, you've got more in the tank. And they were proper like kind of military style as well. And no
Yeah,
BS,
yeah,
crack on, go for it, suck it
yeah,
up.
yeah,
I love that because it pushes me, and then I challenge again, like I challenge myself, and I think I've learned from that recently as well, just where I need to let things go at times, or just be kinder to myself in things that you don't have to be so intense with everything. And but that's just, I learn the hard way at those things, and I've had to accept a bit. I always will on certain things learn the hard way.
yeah, yeah. Well, sometimes we have to do that. And I
Yeah,
was thinking, this is like kind of a random thought, but I love when from my mentors or people that I follow, like I hear things or sometimes I just get these downloads and thoughts or things to think about. And one I wanted to share is, I think I'm good at a lot of things, but one thing I have not been great at traditionally is receiving help. I'm always about giving help and supporting others, and haven't been very good about asking for help or receiving from others. And so, but I heard, and so I've been working on that, thinking about that, but I heard something recently that it really resonated and hit that home for me. Is talked about, I don't know about you, but for me, helping others is one of the most gratifying feelings on the planet, right? When
sure.
you're working with a client or whomever, a friend, whatever, and they say, "Wow, man, like thank you. That is so helpful and so beneficial." And so it's one of the greatest feelings you can ever have, I think. And then recently what I heard is if I'm not open to having others support and help me, I'm depriving them
Sure.
of that feeling of giving.
Yeah.
I thought, wow, is that ever selfish?
Yeah.
So, so it just really, okay, I get it. And they said energetically, giving and receiving is the same thing, right? It's this cycle of
Yeah.
energy where there's give and take and mutual support. So I just wanted to share that because it just really resonated with me. Like, okay.
Yeah. It's bang on. There's a book by Bob Berg, The Go-Giver,
Okay.
and he explores that again about the point of giving and that you stop that cycle. You don't you just not, you want to be that person, you don't allow someone else to, and that stops it, and how important it is. And you're bang
Mm-hmm.
on again is those things that like it just makes absolute sense
Yeah.
um that we need to do. What do you what do you struggle with or miss from the corporate world compared to being an entrepreneur?
I miss a team, a large team.
Mm,
I found in working with other organizations from small up to 150,000 people is there's varying levels of support, right? So in a larger organization, the corporate world, I always had support. And when I'd come up with these cool ideas like, I can call upon him and her and we can pull together this team and bang, you've got resources to execute. Either in my own business or working with much smaller companies, come up with these great ideas and like, okay, who's going to help me? Oh, right. That's me. Right? And so that's one of the things. I also think, yeah, working particular in the Canadian telecom industry, like we've solved big problems,
mm,
like the state of the healthcare system in our country and revolutionizing healthcare for Canadians for better health outcomes, things like that. Like
mm,
okay, that those big problems are pretty cool. So
oh,
sometimes when you're working on your own business or smaller, that it just doesn't seem to have the same impact,
yeah.
but it does because again, it's back to one person saying, "Wow, you really helped me," or another thing I've been very present to. It's similar maybe in the spirit or energy of not being able to receive, is we often don't celebrate our successes, right?
Yeah.
We focus on the things we have yet to accomplish and forget to just stop and say, "Wow, like I've come a long ways." And again, I was talking to another client a couple of weeks back, and I asked when we first started working together, and her business was pretty new, mind you, but I asked her, I said, "What's your revenue, like current revenue?" And she couldn't answer the question. And that's fine. I said, "Okay, well that's probably need to be on top of that." Like so the other day we're chatting, like fast forward a year later, and I asked her the question. She knew the number, or she knew it exactly, but she said, "It's just X." I won't say the number, but she said, "It's just." And I said, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa. The number you just gave me is 10 times bigger than the first time I asked you. 10 times. Can we just stop, close our eyes, and take a breath?"
Yeah.
And it's not really, it's not clicking in for her. And I'm like, "Are you kidding me? Like, this is a massive, massive accomplishment, man." But all she could say, "Well, it's just this. It's not that." It's like just 10 times what it was. That's pretty cool.
Mm,
So again, it's a real lesson, I think, in just stopping and saying, okay, yeah, there's a lot I want to do, but there's a lot I have done, right?
yeah.
And really celebrating that. So,
And that's another reason why I share with people around, especially if you're starting out or you're in a place, if you've been in maybe a business a couple of years and it's not going how you want it to, but the
mhm.
ability to surround yourself with those people and then go and like ask. People want to help. As we know, people, we just said people want to help, but you have to ask that sometimes. Say, I'm looking for this, I'm looking for that. And
Yeah,
um,
yes, yep.
I'm put it out to the world of this is what I'm looking for, and those things just come your way. And that's what I always think with the kind of Giovanni thing as well, is that I knew I wanted something very different and I just gave
Mm,
it a bit of space without any pressure. I wasn't like then hunting down communities and places to
yeah,
be, but it
yeah,
was
yep,
like I'm just gonna allow that space and that door to open, not
yep,
knowing what that looks like yet, not knowing who it will
yep,
be, but I
yes.
also again trust that it will happen and I'll just be like, I need to be on that plane.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Just
That's
go
big
for it and do it, and take the bold moves. And what the whole thing around it is never even like, it's not even about, oh, I need more business or I want to get more clients. Like I was saying to somebody the other day that I just love going across there. I said the fact of when I hit Heathrow or I'm jumping on a plane and I'm going to travel with business, I just remember how, like you said, positive in that this world is full of opportunities, but you've got to do that. You've got to take that next step. You've got to book that plane seat. You've got to get on that plane. You've got to get to that event and meet those people and talk to people and build connections. And
Totally.
we all
Totally.
start as strangers, right?
That's right. Well, and this is, I talked about these downloads. I had one recently. At least it was a bit of an epiphany to me. It was like two things. The universe rewards specificity,
Yeah.
right? To your point, when you can say clearly, this is what I want, or this is what I need, or this is what I need help with, people want to help.
Mm,
And they can give you that. But if you're not specific, like here's an example, you could say, well, what I'd like is more money. Well, if you walk outside and you find a dime on the ground, the universe just delivered you more money.
yeah.
You say, what I really need is $642,000, then it's now that might seem completely outlandish, right? But it's specific. It's like, okay, now I'm asking like for something tangible.
Yeah.
So that was the first part of the download. The second one is the universe also rewards action, right?
100%.
To your point, we can manifest, we can create some amazing things, but you can't just sit in a room with your fingers held together and hope that it's going to happen. It's like it's a great start. I totally believe in that. Visualizing and meditating, sure. And then what's the action you're going to take? What's the one thing? So to your point, you're going to book that plane ticket or you're going to send an email to a person and say, hey, I'd like to meet or whatever it is. But that also, now I think the universe says, she's serious about this.
Yeah.
She's not just thinking about it, she's taking some action.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think those two things are very key.
And then they compound.
Totally. Totally. Yeah. And then and then it's back to that. You look back a year later, right? And you're like, wow, look at all of the things I've done, or look how far I've come just by doing the simple, consistent action every day.
And that's so important. So important. I know we could talk and talk, and I know we'll be doing it in Canada, which is a great thing.
For sure.
What does success mean to you?
Success for me is kind of like what I said at the outset is living life on your own terms.
Mm,
And to me, it's wrapped up in freedom, of course, but I talked about the formula, right? So many of us we live robotically. We do what we think we are supposed to do, not realizing that we are incredibly free, right? We have a choice. We can choose anything. Like we can choose to go to the gym or not to the gym. We can choose, right? But we think that we have to do things a certain way. And so to me, success is, and I don't mean doing things on my own terms at all costs where it's harmful to other people. But it's really like, if I can do things the way I want to do them, the way my heart tells me to do them, not the way society tells me to do them, that to me is success. And that equates to business or anything else in life, right? Is like go into your heart, what's the thing that you really desire? And then how do you achieve that in a way that feels really good to you and not only is not harmful to others, but actually helps others.
yeah. Share how people can connect with you and a bit as well who you mainly work with in terms of the coaching and the work that you do and about your book as well, how you can connect with that.
Sure. So the book is called The Freedom Framework, available on Amazon by Cal Misner. My website is highperformanceculture.ca. Um, mo Mostly the people I work with are heart-led entrepreneurs who are trying to make the world a better place, have a great vision for impact and business, but perhaps not the same, maybe just don't have the business background to support that.
Yeah.
And also looking for, like I mentioned right at the outset, this blend of soul versus strategy, right? Is like, strategy is like the business of hardcore business side of things, but how do I do that in a soulful, meaningful way that feels good in my heart,
Yeah.
not the way that everyone else is telling me to do it.
Yeah. I love that. Thank you so much for your time. It's been
Thank
amazing.
you. Enjoyed the conversation, loved it, and I'm sure we'll chat before then, but I look forward to seeing you in Toronto in September as well.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.
If this episode gave you something to think about, helped you in any way, or just made you feel seen, do me a favour, hit subscribe, leave a quick review, and maybe share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you want to dive deeper or need help, reach out. I'd love to hear from you. I appreciate you being here, and I will see you next time.